think I've covered everything. Hey peeps, welcome to another video. Today it is my pattern review of the Sew Over It Eve dress. Spoiler alert, I love it. So I have made, I think, hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've actually made a total of 9 of the Sew Over It Eve dresses. I don't have the very first one that I completed. I've actually donated that to Big Bird, and that is because it was a wearable muslin. I was going by the sizes on the envelope and it ended up way too big for me. So let me get the envelope up and we'll talk through the sizing. For the very first Eve dress that I made, I went by the measurements on the pattern, and it says for the body measurement of a 39-inch bust, mine is 38, but I decided to get the 12 is a 37, so I decided to go for the size larger just in case. And the finished measurement for that on the bust is 40 inches. So I went for the size 12 bust, I went for the size 10 waist, which is for a 28-inch waist, but again I was erring on the side of caution because technically I should be a size 8, which is 26, and the finished measurement for that was for the size 10 is a 30-inch waist, and for the size 8 is a 28-inch waist. And then for the hips it says be a size 14, which is a 42-inch hip, and the finished measurement for the size 14 is a 46-inch hip. I made the size 14, 10, 14 for my very first one, and it was ginormous on me. It was absolutely huge. So I ended up having to turn the neck edge under twice to try and get it to fit me, and I did wear it. I made it just before I went to Lanzarote a couple of years ago, and I took it to Lanzarote with me, and it was a very comfortable dress to wear, but it was just so baggy at the top here and it didn't look right. And I took it with me to Nuneaton when we went to see Big Bird one of the times we went to the Festival of Quilts. I think I got her to try it on, and if she had unpicked the double turning, so it had only been turned over once at the neckline, it would actually fit her perfectly. I donated that one to her because it was something that I wasn't going to wear. So I decided from then I was going to go down to a size 12 at the bust, 10 at the hips, and oh, I'm sat on the skirt. And leave the skirt was as is. So it's a 14, sorry, it's a 10 at the waist, and then it graded out to a 14 over the hips. I made this one, which is an anchor and ship wheel print that I got from Indian Royal Treasures. It is a viscose. All of my Eves are made in viscose. I love the fabric and I love the look of the fabric with the fluttery sleeves and the long high-low hem and the tie and everything. So I've never made an Eve out of anything but viscose. So this one was more successful, but it is still quite baggy at the sides. So from there I went down to straight size 10 at the top, and it fits me so much better, and that's what I make now. So the other alterations that I have done, I added an inch of length to the bodice, and I added that just underneath the notches on the side, the notches to match up the side seams. I added an inch of length there. There isn't a lengthen and shorten line on the pattern, unfortunately, so it was one of those ones where I just kind of guesstimated and picked a spot, added it there, and it's worked for me. It's worked for me really well. So I have added an inch of length to the bodice. I have also added 2 inches of length to the skirt. It is already a very long skirt. By me adding that extra 2 inches of length, it does mean that I struggle to cut it out on the straight of grain on anything that's even a smidge under 150 wide. So I usually cut my Eve dresses out on the cross grain because there is plenty of room for me to do that, and I prefer the skirt to be this length. I'm 5'8" for reference, so the already long skirt is super long on me, but I really like how that looks. I also make my ties ever so slightly longer. I think I traced the largest size for the ties because there are increments for the sizing on the ties, and I think I just traced the largest size so that I have slightly longer ties. Again, that's a personal preference of mine. I really love this dress, and I can definitely see myself making more than just the 9 that I have made so far and the 8 that I still currently have. Other changes that I've made to the pattern, let me show you on a slightly lighter fabric. I've just got a massive pile of viscose next to me now. It doesn't even look like dresses anymore. So this was a present from the lovely Rachel. It was part of the KB Pattern Swap Summer Edition 2 years ago now, and I believe this fabric was from Minerva Crafts. I don't think they have any more of it. Like I say, it's over 2 years old. The other changes that I have made to the pattern are that I French seam the entirety of the inside, and then I put a buttonhole in above the waistline in the side seam of the dress to have my ties pass through. The very first one that I made, I followed the pattern and I French seamed what I could, and then I used rayon seam binding for the seams that I couldn't French seam, and I found that incredibly fiddly. In all honesty, I just prefer French seams as a finish, which is why I do that and put the buttonhole in instead. I actually cut 4 yoke pieces instead of 2 that the pattern suggests, and I burrito the yolks, and again, that's just a personal preference of mine. I find that French seaming when there's gathering, which this dress does have into the yoke, I find French seaming that very awkward and bulky, and that's kind of negates the whole point of a French seam. So it kind of occurred to me that I could cut more yolks, like I say, 4 yolks instead of 2, and burrito it so that there's a lining in the yoke there. And again, personal preference of mine, I don't like overlocked edges on woven dresses, and that's only because I had an overlocker for the longest time and I was terrified of it. So I learned all these other finishing methods for seams so that I didn't have to learn how to use the overlocker. So that's my only reason. There is absolutely nothing with overlocking the inside edges of your woven garments if you so choose. I just prefer French seams, so I use them. It does mean a little bit more work, but I really like how the garments look on the inside when they're finished. Having said that, I don't like overlocking, I also use bias binding to finish the front edge of the dress, and the bias binding runs from hem to hem all the way around the back of the neck of the dress, and I just really like how that looks because, again, personal preference. I do use the twill tape as well as the bias binding to stabilize the front neckline, and that's worked really well for me. I've never had an issue of gaping with this dress ever. I think that is all of the changes that I have made to the Eve dress. So it's not a lot of changes, they're all minor tweaks, because the pattern itself is absolutely beautiful and I love it. And Lisa Comfort has just done a sew along for the Eve dress on her channel. She's done, I think there's 3 videos, because there were the second one kind of got split into 2 because of internet issues. So there is a sew along talking you through how this dress goes together, which is great. And like I said, the only differences that I've made are the extra yolks, French seaming and bias binding. So the pattern instructions are actually written really well. I didn't have any trouble following those pattern instructions whatsoever. I found this dress worked really well for me once I had kind of worked out the sizes. Technically, the size 10 bust is meant to be for a 35-inch bust, and the finished measurement is supposed to be 36, and as I say, mine is 38, so there probably is meant to be slightly more kind of room from the gathering up the top here, but I really like how this fits on me now, and I find that very comfortable, and the sides of it fit me really well, which is a look that I prefer. So again, it's one of those things that you kind of need to go by the pattern measurements that they give you, the finished garment measurements, and then work out the type of fit that you enjoy on your dress. Technically, according to this shouldn't fit me, but it does, and I love it. And this is the, I mean, I've made, let's see, I've got 8 here, and one of them is, so I've made 7 this size, and I wear them all the time. These to me are not dressy dresses, although they can be. I can definitely dress them up with different jewellery and high heels and wear them out, and I do, but I also wear them during the days in the hotter months because I just find them so comfortable. I love wearing them. I personally always like to dress up. I like colour, I like floaty things, so to me this doesn't feel overly dressed for just kind of walking around the house and sewing, and you know, my usual sewing days. I enjoy wearing this kind of thing. Yeah, these dresses are things that I wear all the time. So I'm going to talk you through quickly talk you through all of the ones that I've made, because I know you've seen all of these before, but not all in one video. And as I say, I get asked about the Eve dress all the time and the mods that I've made to it, so I thought I would make this video so that I can point people in this direction when they ask me what I've done to the Eve dress, because all of the information will be here. So the one I'm wearing now is the Acrea Palms Viscose Lawn from Lady McElroy, and I got this from Sherwood Fabrics, and it was a Christmas present from Wilson. I got 3 meters of this, and I just fit the fluttery sleeved version on because it is 140 centimeters wide. I thought it was wider than that because I was going to go for a different sleeve option, which I will show you in a minute. But I got the fluttery sleeves from this one and I absolutely love it. I think it's beautiful. It's very lightweight, very comfortable to wear. And one of the nice things about wearing wrap dresses is that if you eat a big meal, you can loosen the wrap just a little bit to make yourself more comfortable, which is awesome. This is some viscose that I was gifted from the lovely Rachel from Stitched Up. It was from Minerva Crafts and they don't have it anymore. I'm sorry about that. I really love this one, and thankfully I have enough of this fabric to make myself a top with as well, which is awesome. But yes, there's this one. As I mentioned, we have my navy with anchors and ship wheels on it. This was a rayon from Indian Royal Treasures, and they definitely don't have any more of this. I bought the last of it, and I bought it probably about 5 years ago now. But they do have some amazing, well, they have some very strange prints on that in that shop as well, but they do have some amazing prints in Indian Royal Treasures, so I'll try and list them down below. This is my most recent Eve dress. It was made with some viscose fabric that I got from El Kilo in Lanzarote. I don't know where you can get this fabric from, if it is available on the internet. I haven't seen it, and El Kilo don't have a website. I'm really sorry. I was going to use this for a lining for a coat, and I'm so glad that I didn't. I'm so glad that I made the Eve dress. And the Eve dress is actually fast becoming one of my tried and true patterns, which is why I have more than 5 of them. I did make myself an arbitrary rule of 5 and move on, but that's kind of gone out the window. So I use this as a palette cleanser now. It used to be the By Hand London Anna dress that was my palette cleanser, but I have, as I think I have mentioned a fair few times, 34 of that bodice with different bottoms on them. So I needed to have a new palette cleanser, and the Eve dress isn't an overly complicated make. It comes together really nice and quickly. You can definitely get it done in a day if you don't start cutting out at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, it's just one of those dresses that I have in my arsenal of things that I can make that make me feel good about myself, because I know it fits, it's beautiful, I can get it out of 3 meters of fabric, 3 meters of 140 wide fabric, and yeah, I really like wearing it as well. This is one of my earlier ones, definitely at least 2 years old, this one. It is a rayon or a viscose from the Textile Centre. There isn't any more of this. I bought the last 6 meters thinking I was going to make myself an Eve dress and a pair of beach pajamas from Till the Sun Goes Down, and then Dad saw it and had other ideas, so Dad has a shirt in this. Again, I love this. I really love this. It's very comfortable to wear, and it goes with lots of different shoes that I have. Then we have this is the Loretta Lawn from Lady McElroy in the Cobra Corsage print. Now this has a little bit of stretch in it, so this Eve dress is particularly comfortable to wear if you know you're going to be eating a big meal. And as you guys know, I love the Cobra Corsage print, so when I saw that they did it on a viscose lawn, I snapped 3 meters up and have made myself an Eve dress with it. I do narrow rolled hems on the sleeves, and they are super narrow rolled hems. This one is probably 1/8 of an inch, and then I do narrow hems on, or like 1/4 inch narrow hems on the skirt. And as I say, the front is always finished with bias binding. There's the Cobra Corsage one. This fabric is available, and I will have it listed in the description box down below. Next we have this beautiful viscose that I got from Sew Over It. I think it was Lem from Australia who had ordered this fabric and made herself an Eve dress with it. I saw it and I was just like, that is stunning, I need to completely copy you. I mean, we live on opposite sides of the world, so fingers crossed we won't turn up to the same event wearing the same dress. I genuinely don't mind people copying the things that I make. I find it very flattering that people take my makes as inspiration. Yeah, I know there are some people out there who do object to having their makes completely copied, but it really doesn't bother me, and fingers crossed Ellie feels the same, because like I say, she had bought this fabric from Sew Over It, had it shipped over to Australia and made the Eve dress out of it. This technically is not directional, but it is the kind of, the flowers do kind of run selvage to selvage, so I did cut it on the cross grain, and if you come up and look really closely, I think you can tell, but I think you kind of have to be in the know about sewing, and you kind of have to be fairly close to inspect me to see that some of my flowers may not necessarily be running exactly the right way. I do kind of wish I had pattern matched the back seam, but also this fabric was expensive. It was £15 a metre, and I did find it way cheaper on another shop, but they'd sold out of it by that point, because I was going to just buy more because I just love it that much. I'd bought 4 metres, so I do have a little bit left over to make myself a top out of, which I am very happy about, and which is another reason I wasn't so fussy about the pattern matching on the back of this one, because in all honesty I don't think it really is glaringly obvious. And again, it's on the back, I never see it, it's fine. So there's this one. I think this has to be one. Oh, I don't know, I don't think I can pick a favourite. I love all of these dresses. I look forward to wearing all of these dresses. So the final one I have to show you is some fabric from the Textile Centre. Lynn from Aussie Blackbeard had bought a different colourway of this. When I saw that they had the blue one, I just snapped it up. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Again, I had 3 metres of this, but it was 150 wide, which allowed me to cut out longer sleeves, and these are the sleeves from the McCall 7537, and I have just smooshed them on. I made it work. They have a real gathered cap at the top, so it's a little bit poofy there, and then they come down into an elasticated wristband. I was trying to work out ways that I could have the Eve dress and wear a cardigan over it without worrying about crushing the little fluttery sleeves, because the wonderful thing about viscose is that it's lovely to wear, it's floaty to wear. The not so lovely thing about viscose, as you will probably have seen from all the cutaways and twirls that I'm doing of my dresses, is that it wrinkles and it creases the minute that you look at it. So one of the things I was worried about is kind of cramming these sleeves into cardigans for the slightly cooler months, and you know, then making it work, making it look okay when I took my cardigan off, or just making it look okay with the cardigan on without kind of like little sort of bunches under the sleeves. I'd had this idea, and then somebody executed it first and put it up on Instagram, and it looked amazing, and I was just like, ah, it does look really cool. I do need to make this for myself. This is awesome. So yeah, I added these sleeves onto this one, and I love it. I actually haven't had a chance to wear this one out of the house as yet, because I made it I think in either January or February, and it was still just slightly too cold to be wearing a viscose dress. Technically you could totally wear like a thermal turtleneck or roll neck underneath this, then a cardigan on top, tights, a slip, thigh-high boots, and it would look really cool. And that is how I was intending to wear this up to London to go and visit Wilson, but then, you know, stuff happened and we can't go anywhere. So I haven't got to wear this one as yet, but I will, because obviously being viscose, it's going to be breathable and lightweight, so even if it's slightly hotter in the spring months, I can still wear the long sleeved version. I know I made myself an arbitrary rule of buy then move on, but as I say, this is becoming, well, this is now one of my tried and true patterns. I love it. I love wearing it. Like I say, I feel happy reaching for one of these in the morning. So there's going to be more than the 9 that I currently have 8, but the 9 that I've made, there will be more. I mean, I even bought the fabric that I made the very first one out of. I've even bought more of that fabric to make another one, although I am thinking about using that for a different dress. But then I'm thinking about buying some more to actually use for an Eve dress as well, because I really liked it. So yes, the only thing that I haven't done with the Eve, I haven't made the straight skirt, and I haven't made the straight sleeves. I really like the look of that. I think it looks very kind of 40s-ish, which is a decade that I very much enjoy. But I haven't tried them, so I don't know for myself, but I have heard that a lot of Sew Over It sleeves can be quite tight, and I do have slightly bigger arms, so it would be something that I would need to make myself a muslin of before I cut into a precious fabric. And again, my other issue is I want to be able to do this in my Eve dresses because I enjoy going dancing in them. You need to be able to get your hands above your head to salsa dance So that is a requirement for me, and I don't know with the straighter sleeves if I could get there, if I could do that. The other thing with the straight skirt is I like the high-low hem. My dad doesn't. He keeps wanting me to level out the hems of all of my Eve dresses, but I personally really like the high-low hem, and it's one of the attractive features of the Eve dress for me. So I probably won't ever make the straight level hem, but I do have that option if I wanted a slightly less whimsical dress, perhaps ever in the future. Probably unlikely, so yes. Anyway, I can't think of anything else to say about the Eve dress. I have talked about all of the changes that I've made. I've talked about all the modifications I've made. I've talked about my sizings, I've talked about the length, I've talked about my heights. So I think I have covered everything. If I've missed something off, let me know in the comments down below, or if you have a question, and I'll do my best to answer it for you. But fingers crossed, I have covered all of the things that I do differently with the Eve dress. Fingers crossed, I think I have. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!